Hi guys, this week we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be going through a traditional puff pastry recipe. Okay, so we're going to go right back to basics and we're going to go into rubbing fat into flour, and we're going to talk about the scientific processes as we go through. This is a complex skill, so it's a skill that you guys are going to have to know how to perform going into year 11. And there's two ways that we can make this. There's the first way that we're going to go through, which is traditional, okay, and it's going to take us quite a long amount of time, and then I'm going to show you a really quick and easy way to do it at the end, which is going to save you a lot of time, and it's going to mean that you can do it in the 3-hour time frame that you have in year 11. Okay, so first of all, you need to have your ingredients. So you need to have flour. Okay, you're going to need to have 225 grams of flour. You're going to need to have butter. So straight out of the fridge, I've got unsalted butter and I've got lard. Okay, so I need 30 grams of lard and I need 170 grams of unsalted butter. The lard needs to be as cold as possible, as does the iced water. So here I've got a glass with ice in it and some cold water. Okay, so I'm going to start measuring all these things out, and then I'm going to talk about what we're doing to combine them all. Okay, so we've got our flour and our salt in our bowl here. We've got our lard, which has been cubed, and we've also got our butter, which I've put back in the fridge. So I've measured that out and I've put it back in the fridge. I've tried to keep that in a biggest chunk I can. I haven't cubed the butter, okay? So we want that to stay in a nice big block. So what we're going to do is we're going to rub our lard into our flour until we get a breadcrumb resemblance, okay? So that's what we're going to do to start with. I'm going to go through this because I want to remind you that we only use our fingertips. Okay, so we want to lift the flour up and push the lard, or rub the lard into that flour, okay, and drop it down as it goes. The reason we're doing this is because we want to aerate the flour as well while we're rubbing the lard into it. So we do know that lard is a type of fat. Okay, and lard is here coating the flour particles, the gluten in the flour, okay, and it is preventing it from becoming hydrated. So we're preventing the flour particles or molecules from being hydrated when we add the water. This is going to help us to create the desired puff pastry effect, okay. So we're going to keep doing this until it resembles breadcrumbs, and we're just letting it pull through our fingers. Okay, so once we have our breadcrumb like mixture, we're then going to start using our palette knife. Okay, we're not going to use our fingers anymore. Part of lifting the flour up and shaking it through our fingers down was trying to keep the mixture cool as well, because that's a massive part of puff pastry, is keeping those fats really nice and cold. Okay, so now we're going to add our water. So we're going to add in about 6 to 8 tablespoons of water. We're going to start with about 6. And we're going to use our palette knife to get that to start coming together. Okay, and it's starting to come together, as you can see, but we're going to need some more water in there. So keep counting. We're going to go with 8. Okay, the thing about this is that you can continue to add water until you have the desired consistency. So the recipe says that we want to add about a maximum of 135 mils. Okay. Still going. Okay. So you can see we have a shaggy dough that has formed here. Okay. So we're going to put that out on a clean work surface. Okay. So we'll pull that off there. Yours could be a little bit wetter than this. This is quite a dry mix, but I am cautious of the fact that my house is very warm at the moment, so I anticipate that that butter will melt down as I work it. So I'm just going to work it into a nice smooth ball. Okay, not butter, sorry, lard that's in here. There we go. So now I'm going to put it into a nice rectangle block. Okay, and I'll explain why you're going to do this in a minute, but it's going to help when we put the next butter into it. Okay, so we want it to be a nice block like that. Cool. And we're going to cling film that, and we're going to put it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. So when I was putting my pastry in the fridge, I grabbed out my butter, and what I've done is I've put that in a nice even shape, and I've got a nice big piece of parchment paper here. I'm just going to fold that over the top, leaving a little bit of room, and I'm going to start gently bashing that down so that it becomes a nice flat block. And that's what we're going to be putting in our pastry later, and that's why we put it into a nice rectangle. So we're going for the same shape and size as the rectangle for the pastry that is already in the fridge. Okay, this is now looking about the same size as our pastry. Okay, and you can always just cut some of the sides off and put it back in the middle and bash it out again. Okay, so this is looking a little bit too wide, so I'm just going to cut that off there and that off there. Put that back in there. And I'm just going to roll that down again. And now it's looking more appropriate. So leave it in your parchment, okay, fold your parchment up. And you're going to go and put that in the fridge as well. Okay, and in half an hour when the pastry has rested in the fridge, you're going to get them both back out. So after about 30 minutes, you're going to get your pastry out of the fridge and you're going to roll it out. So that rectangle shape that you molded it into to start with will really help you to be able to roll it out into a nice 30 centimeter long and 15 centimeter wide shape. So I'm just now pulling it off the table, and I'm just going to put some nice flour back underneath it, and then I'm going to get my butter. So I got my butter out at the same time as I got my pastry out. Okay, and I'm going to let that sit and kind of come to about room temperature while I'm rolling this out. Then you're going to split your dough into 3. So you're going to have 3 rectangles, okay, and within those 3 rectangles you're going to use the middle section for your butter. Now this is why it was important that your butter was about the same size as your original piece of dough. Okay, so take that out of the cling film and you're going to put it in the middle there like that. So if mine is already as big, the dough is bigger than the butter, so I'm just going to fold those in like that. Okay, if yours are not, before you put the butter on, you need to roll the middle part out a little bit so that it is bigger. And then you're going to fold up and fold down the sides so you have a nice new square package. And you're going to roll it out to the same size that it was. And that's why you can use a ruler to measure. Okay, but make sure you have lots of flour on the bottom of the board, nice flour on top of it, and that your rolling pin is covered in flour as well. So you're just going to roll that out again, trying to keep a nice uniform shape. So you want that butter to be evenly dispersed. Okay. And what we're going to do now is we're going to repeat that folding process. So we're going to fold in. Okay, and this way we're then now creating layers of butter. Okay, and fold the edges in so that they are the same, okay, as they were. You're going to turn it this time, okay, and roll again. Okay, so our pastry has been chilling in the fridge now for over half an hour, and it's actually really cold to the touch, and you can see it's quite firm, okay, because we really need that butter and that lard to firm up. So once it is out of the fridge, you're working quickly and you're just going to put some flour, okay, over both sides of it, and on your rolling pin as well. And you're going to roll it out again to the same size that it was before, so 30 centimeters wide, long, and 15 centimeters wide. Okay. Okay, so once it is nice and big again, you're going to fold it exactly the same way you did last time, so folding both of the bottom parts into the middle. Then you're going to half turn and you're going to roll it out again. We're going to do this twice, and then we're going to chill it again for 30 minutes, and then we're going to do it once more. So overall, you should have turned and folded your pastry about 6 to 7 times, and chilling in between to try and develop those layers. Okay, so we've taken this out of the fridge again, so it's been chilled for at least 30 minutes, and it is cold to the touch. What we're going to do now is roll it out, and this should be the final time we have to roll it out. If you can see butter marks within the pastry, then you need to fold it again, put it back in the fridge for another 30 minutes, and roll it out. We want to do the folding process until there is no butter marks left in the pastry and it just looks like it's fully combined. So we're just going to have a look at this pastry now, and we're just rolling it back out to 30 by 15. And at the moment I can't see any butter marks in the pastry. It just looks like a fully uniform color. But the more we roll it out, the more we'll be able to see that. So I have folded this and turned it 7 times, and it's looking like a really nice pastry with no butter marks in it now. So from here, you can use your pastry to make anything that you want. But what I'm going to do today is make a pie. I'm going to make a bacon and egg pie. So in a minute, I'll get out all of the ingredients and I'll show you what you need and how to do that. But as for this, it's looking like a really nice smooth pastry with no butter marks in it at all. Okay, so I've got a nice pie dish here that I've just put some baking paper in the bottom of, and I've greased the sides with butter. I'm just going to grab my pastry and just put that nicely into the dish. I'm just pushing it into the sides, okay, and as you can see, there are some parts that don't quite reach the edges, which is fine because you can cut those overlapping bits off and fix them up. Ideally, we want to try and keep this as cold as possible. Okay, so we are working as quickly as we can now. Right, and then I'm just going to trim these edges. So that they're not overhanging. And then I'm just going to put some cut marks in the bottom, okay, and then I can start to make my bacon egg pie, which is really simple. We are literally just putting bacon and eggs into the pie. So we're just cutting up bacon like so. And we probably want about 4 rashers on the bottom, and then we're just going to crack the eggs onto them. So I'll get on with that and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I have added some peas to mine, and I've put about 6 eggs in there. I've left them whole as well, and then I put another couple pieces of bacon on top. So then you're going to grab the other half of your pastry and you're just going to put that on top, and you're going to try and make sure that all of the sides link up. Okay, so you can grab a fork and push them in together, but start with just kind of stretch it out and make it fit the bottom of the pie. Again, going around, and you can cut these edges off. And you can use that pastry, which I'll show you how to do in a minute as well. We're just going to get this all sealed up. So I've just grabbed a fork and I'm just going to go around the edges and push them into the edge of the pie dish. Okay, and that is going to seal them together and make sure that none of that filling can come out. This is now going to go into the fridge for about 20 minutes to half an hour again till it's cold to the touch, because we want to cook the pastry from cold. Okay, we don't want to cook it while it's warm. We want that butter to be nice and cold again. And then we can just make a few holes in the top to let some of that air escape. There you go. Your oven needs to be on 200 degrees Celsius, okay, or about gas mark 7, and it cooks for about 40 minutes, but first we need to chill it. So with these bits that you have left over, okay, you can push them into a ball and they will be fine. They won't be as pretty and as uniform as your pastry that you've just made, okay, because your pastry that you just made, you were folding out in a uniform way and always trying to create nice lines with your butter. This is obviously you've just scrunched it up, so it's not going to be as perfect, okay, but we're working quickly. Need to get some flour on top there. And then we can use these parts to make some smaller little pies, okay, so we can make them in a muffin tray. So just getting some butter around the edges. I like to put a strip of baking paper in it as well, okay, and that way that can help me to lift it up and out. And then we're just going to cut a square out of here, big enough to go into our case. Push that all up around the side so that it is meeting the top. Cut off any excess, plug any holes. And then you can chop, I would say, half a piece of bacon per tin. And 1 egg, and then you can put some cheese on top as well if you would like to, and that will make a perfect little snack for you to have. Okay, again, that needs to be chilled and then it can be cooked for about 35 minutes on 200 degrees. Okay, so as promised, I'm going to show you how to make a cheats version of flaky pastry so that you don't have to spend all that time in your practical exam next year folding and going through and trying to create that buttery, layery texture. This will do very similar to that, okay, but we could do it a lot quicker. The whole idea of this is that we keep the butter and the pastry really, really cold. So the butter is currently in the freezer and it's been in there overnight. And that way it's going to stay nice and cold and then I'm going to grate it. I'm not going to rub it with my fingers, I'm going to grate it into the flour and then mix it with a metal spatula so that I don't have to touch it and that it can stay as cold as possible. Okay, so I'm going to measure out all our ingredients and then I'll grate the butter and show you what to do next. Okay, so I've got all of the butter into the flour now, and as you have seen, I was trying to keep the paper on it and to not have my fingers on it until the very last end bit where I couldn't actually grip it anymore with the paper. The reason being is that my fingers are warm and I need this butter to be nice and incorporated. I've just added 4 teaspoons of my ice cold water and it's coming together. Okay, so I've got all of those lumps of butter out and now looks like breadcrumbs with the water is starting to come together. Okay, so that has come together to a ball. I really trying not to touch it with my hands, so I want to try and push that into a ball with the spatula as best I can. So I've done that as best I can with the spatula. I can then use my hands very quickly and lightly, okay, to push that into a nice ball. I can still feel that it's cold, which is what we want, okay. So if I kept kneading that, it would get really nice and smooth. Obviously we don't want that because that would mean the butter has melted. Okay, so we want to leave it like that and cling film it and put it in the fridge for about 45 minutes. Okay, it needs to be nice and cold to the touch, and that way it should result in a nice flaky pastry. Okay, so I'm going to go put this in the fridge. Okay, so while we wait for the pie to cook and the second pastry to firm up, we're going to make a sausage roll filling, which is what we're going to make with that second set of pastry. So what we're going to start with is we're going to grate an apple. So I have just done that, and I'm going to put 1 apple grated into my bowl here. And then we're going to get a pack of sausages. So we need a pack of about 6 sausages, okay, depending how many sausage rolls you want to make. And we're going to take them out of the packaging and we're going to take them out of their skins. So as you can see, right, it's really easy to do, just to slide that meat straight out of the sausage skin. You can cut them up if you would like to, if you can't find the end, and pull the sausage skin off, but I find this really easy to do. Okay, so find the end and squeeze the sausage meat out. I'm also going to add a couple rashers of bacon. So just getting my scissors, I'm just going to chop them up into nice small bits. You can add any herbs and spices that you would like to as well for this. Okay, my sausages were flavoured, so I'm just going to leave them this as is. And we're going to mix this all together, and it's going to make a nice sausage roll filling. So to finish our sausage rolls, we're going to make a glaze that we're going to brush on top, and it's going to help us stick the sides together. So to do that, we need to have about 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And then you're going to fill it up to about 3/4 of a cup of apple juice. Okay, you're going to give that a bit of a stir, and then you're going to put that in the microwave for 30 seconds and stir, and 30 seconds and stir until all of that sugar is dissolved. Okay, so we've got our pastry out of the fridge. It's been about 45 minutes. Okay, and it is again nice and cold to the touch, so we need to work quite fast here. I've also got our sausage meat ready, and I've got our apple syrup ready so we can use that on top. So it's all nice and floured, and we're just going to start rolling it out. We want it, so once we've got it nice and wide, we're going to get our sausage meat. It's totally up to you how you form them from here. If you want them to be long and skinny, okay, then you're going to make it a bit longer in length, and you're going to push the sausage meat out further. So I'm just going to pull this out and put it right in the middle. Okay, I've got nice clean hands now, and we're going to get into the glaze part of the sausage roll. So we're actually going to glaze the inside, okay, as well as the outside of our sausage roll. And we're just going to do that by putting our apple and sugar mixture down each side of the sausage. We're not drenching it, as you can see. We're just using maybe a tablespoon, okay, along each side, and we're just pushing that up like so. Then we're going to cut our edges so that they are nice and straight. Cut all those edges off, and now I have a nice rectangle. What I'm going to do then is take one side and I'm going to pull that up over my sausage, okay? Just gently coat that over the sausage, and then I'm going to do exactly the same with the other side. Now, because it has the apple glaze on it, it will stick, okay? But you can press it down gently to enforce it. Okay, now we have it that the seam side is down, so there's the seam, and we want to cook them with the seam side down. So what we're going to do now is cut off the ends that were excess or too much, okay, and then we're going to cut this into equal parts. So if you start in the middle, okay, then you continue to just cut in half and in half again. So here we go. Perfect. And now they're going to go into a hot oven, and they're going to go into the oven for about 30 to 35 minutes at 200 degrees. I'm going to turn them over, okay, and then if the pastry is cooked on the bottom, and I'm going to temperature probe, and if they're above 70 degrees Celsius, then our bacon and egg pie is ready. So we've got the two small ones that we made, and then we've got the big one that we made as well. Okay, so as you can see, that egg wash has made it go nice and shiny on top. So we're just going to pull that out of the dish here. So that paper that we put on the bottom has enabled that to just slide out really easily. And then we can just peel it off like so. And we have our pie. We're ready to go. So I'll just cut one of these ones in half for you and show you what they look like. Okay, so we've got a flaky pastry. As you can see, it's got some layers formed in there. Okay, it's got a nice egg on top and some bacon in the bottom there as well. Okay, so here we have our finished product of our sausage roll. So I've just cut this in half to show you. If you need to check and see if it's cooked, okay, you can always just cut it in half. And if it's pink, like raw pink in the middle, obviously you need to put them back in. But it's really important the quality of sausage meat you use as well. If you're going to use a really fatty sausage meat, then the bottom is going to get soggier. Okay, so try and use a really good quality sausage meat, and then not so much fat will run out. But here you have it. You've got sausage rolls and bacon and egg pie, and you've made flaky pastry in 2 different ways. See ya!